Welcome to box 2 of Hoop Club, designed by Zoe Frost of Junebug and Darlin. This is what's in your box. You get your instructions and little magazine. You get, tells you everything about the kit and how to make it, your cross-stitch fabric, a little greetings card. Note that in this box, if you subscribe to box 1, you'll get a needle minder, but if you started on box 2, you won't. And we've got these lovely paper bobbins which are designed for threading your thread around and keeping it all neat and organised. So with this box there is the opportunity to stitch this basic design or add some other sprigs with French knots on, but we'll go into that and that's all detailed in your book. So a cross stitch, we're going to show you on a bigger piece of fabric how to cross stitch. So there is a diagram on page 4 and you'll see to stitch a basic cross we're using the fabric as a grid, and you'll clearly see the grid, the markers on the fabric as a grid. You start in the top right and you go down to the bottom left, then you come up at the top left and you go down to the bottom right. And you keep going in this way along the line depending on how many stitches you need to do. I like to stitch left to right, but you can stitch any way you like really. You can build up the pattern in whatever order that you like. You might find your own kind of rhythm. The important thing is to just keep those crosses consistent, so always either go down from the top right to the bottom left and then across. Keep it consistent and it just makes your cross stitch look really neat and lovely. So that is the basic cross stitch. So we're using 2 strands of thread to stitch this design. You need to split your embroidery thread, which comes with 6 strands, and you need to only use 2 strands of it. It's really important so that the crosses look really lovely and neat and you don't run out of thread. So split your thread and then thread your needle and tie a knot in the end. So starting your design, you're going to need to look for the middle of the pattern. We made a bit of a mistake. We put the middle box down. Where I'm putting there with my needle, that is the middle of the pattern. That is where you need to start and work out from the middle of your fabric. So start with some of those peach crosses on that flower that is in the middle of the design. This is the hardest bit, is the first kind of establishing the first shape on the fabric, because you've got nothing else to go on and you're having to do concentrate quite hard and just do lots of counting those crosses and working out where they're meant to go. So once you've got this first shape established on your fabric, then it gets much easier because you've got some context to go on and you can count the squares that are already there, and it just gets easier once you've got more shape on the fabric. So we're going to start with that peach flower, the top peach flower, because it's right in the middle of the design, and this is what we're going to stitch in first, all of the peach colours. So I've started with 3 crosses, and they are the 3 crosses to the left of the red cross. I'm going to carry on now to the right of the red cross and just build up all of that peach, all of these peach crosses. I'm going to count along, work out how many stitches I need to put on the fabric. So I've done my first block, and you can see that's just that bottom bit. I've done those 3 long lines, counted how many along there, and then added in the extra peach squares at the bottom. So I've made a start on that blank page, and now we have done all of the peach. So that is all of that peach of that flower. So now I've done that, I can start to add in other bits of colour. As I mentioned before, we got the pattern slightly wrong. We've marked this centre with a red cross a box too low, so a really good idea would be to remark it with a red pen so that you can see where the middle of the pattern is, because that is going to be your guide as to kind of how you start stitching your cross stitch and where the crosses go. So we're really sorry about that, but you can just remark it there. So as I said before, there are two options. This is the basic version of the kit. It doesn't include lots of the back stitch and these French knots that are on the extra stem, so you can choose to either do the basic version or add those French knots in, but we'll look at that later.